coming out. Good 7 weeks, good day. Obviously, to top it off on a squad, we still got a winter workout to go tomorrow morning. But the guys, they've done a great job these 7 weeks. They've started 2023 off the right way. Different team, finding ourselves, establishing a lot of different things from last year's team. But we're off to a good start these 7 weeks. So, anybody has any questions?
Coach, when Coach Franklin talked a few weeks ago, he had mentioned the fact that there was an off-season to find leadership. So who are some of the guys in your mind during these winter workouts that have shown that to your staff?
From a leadership perspective, I think obviously your older guys in the program, your Keaton Ellis, he's done a nice job kind of taking the reins. It's nice when you have somebody at your position that's as strong with leadership qualities as Tig was last year's. But Keaton has done a nice job. I think Olu Fashan, who's another guy that comes to mind, he's done an excellent job. And then we've got older guys in the offensive line, so I think the offensive line as a unit has also brought a lot of value in the leadership area.
Where are Nick and Kaytron compared to where they were this year, at this time last year, given that they had kind of just arrived, how much progress have they made in this department?
Both of them have done a phenomenal job. Nick is this is his thing. I mean, he is a speed, strength, power athlete all the way. And Kaytron, even though he doesn't have a background as extensive as Nick's when he got here, Kaytron has thrived in our system. You can see the body change he's gone through ever since he first got on campus up to now. He's done a phenomenal job. So they've still got some deficiencies they need to work on, and they know that. We addressed that at the beginning of the winter, but they're working hard at it. Both of them do a phenomenal job.
It looks like Drew Allar's physical development has, advanced a lot since he stepped on campus last year. Can you kind of take us through that process and what your goal was with him?
Yeah, I mean, Drew, obviously with being at the quarterback position, you've got to have durability. So that was one thing with a tall, lean frame like Drew had when he first came in. One of his main objectives was to put muscle mass on, which he's done a great job. The number doesn't come to mind exactly how much he's put on, but it's in the excess of 20, 25 pounds since he's been here. And he looks great. I mean, he looks like a defensive end right now. I'm really happy with his progress. He's put on the lean mass, and he was probably behind from a strength and power standpoint and speed when he first got here. And I tell you what, he's closed the gap on a lot of guys at that position. Bo is kind of an elite person, an elite athlete when it comes to speed, strength, and power. So I think the combination of having, Drew, who was probably behind the curve when he first got here, and having somebody like Bo in the same room and those two in the same class, it's really benefited Drew.
You had a lot of, early enrollee guys play last year, a true freshman overall. But in terms of the group that joined you this January, how have they fit in since they got here, and have any of them impressed you individually so far?
It's good. It's like the mid-years. Each year, they get more comfortable. You're so familiar with these guys throughout the recruiting process. By the time they get here, you've been in communication with them. You know what they're doing from a training standpoint. So as far as fitting in and finding their place, they've all done a great job. There's not a whole lot of hesitancy. It takes them about a week or two to kind of figure out the balance of college life. But once they got that figured out, training is training. Once they get to be able to step in here, with the way that we set up our program, I usually take those guys and put them in what we call a developmental program right off the bat, which I think benefits them because they don't have to worry about seeing the older guys in the program work at comparisons. Comparisons will crush people all the time. They don't have to worry about that stuff. They're just in here training as a collective, as the new guys on campus, and they've done a great job. Really happy.
Going back to the leadership question, Drew is someone that we've heard a lot about kind of finding his voice and becoming more vocal. As a quarterback, obviously that's a big part of it. How have you seen him develop in that area?
Drew he's done a good job in the sense that he's pushed outside of his comfort zone. By nature, Drew is probably he's not the loudest person you'll ever meet. He's loud on the field when he's commanding the offense, obviously, but just his disposition, his nature, he's not an attention-seeking guy. So he's quiet-natured, but I've seen him during our workouts, during the winter workouts in the weight room. He's made himself uncomfortable, put himself in uncomfortable situations to where he's forced himself to speak up to other guys. So in that sense, I'm really proud of him.
How important are these 7 weeks? And not asking about any injuries specifically, but if a guy can't contribute now, can he make up that time later, and how does that work?
Contribute in a sense.
If he's not able to be full participating in a lift or something like that, can he make it up later in the year? How does that timeline?
I mean, everybody's a full participant. It just depends on what degree. I mean, this thing is so finely tuned. By the time we know exactly what we're getting at the beginning of these 7 weeks. We know who's got any type of soft tissue injury, some type of surgical return to play. I mean, they're just on a different program. You know, but it's still full go, depending on what they can do. But there is no, I hate to use the term limited. It's just limited in the sense that they're not fully healthy. But trust me, they're working as hard as everybody else. It's just different.
I'm sorry, Chuck, your 2 scholarship transfers who came in mid-year, how have they fit in, and what have you seen from them in that strength and conditioning department?
They're good.
They're further along than the young kids.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming in as grad transfer. They're more developed, and what I really actually like this about the transfer portal. You know, it's kind of nice for these guys. You know, when they are developed, but they're also developed within a certain system. Our strength coaches are as guilty as anybody. You know, your system is your system. And when you get a guy who's been in a certain system for 3 years or 4 years, and then they make that change into somebody else's system, they've thrived. I don't think we've had a grad transfer who hasn't thrived. And Storm and McClain they've been no different. Storm has been phenomenal. I mean, he's a perfect example of how you should conduct your business when you show up on campus as a grad transfer. He's just put his head down, he's worked, he's been one of the most consistent guys in the program day in and day out. Been really, really happy with that. And McClain is just, I mean, he's awesome. He's big, tall, long athlete, very, very athletic. He's always got a smile on his face. He's been the same thing. He's the same guy every day. He's consistent, he's mature. Been really happy with those guys.
How unique is Zane Durant as an athlete?
What's that?
How unique is Zane Durant as an athlete?
Unique. Unique. I mean, I'm around great athletes all the time, so it's hard to say what's unique about him. I mean, he's a stud in here for us. I mean, he's a full package. We're excited to see him play this year. I don't know if I can really say anything is unique about him. What's unique about Zane is his personality and the fact that he's always, you know exactly where he is when he's in the room, which you love that about him. He's got great energy about himself, and he's a catalyst to other guys in here as far as bringing energy. That's what's unique about him.
James said last year that a couple of freshmen, Abdul and Dani, were physically ready to play, even though they didn't really enroll early. What have you seen from them, you know, kind of having them this year, and what was kind of the goal?
I'm sorry, say
Abdul
again.
Carter
Abdul
and Dani. They didn't really enroll last year early.
Yep.
But James thought they were physically ready to play anyway. So what did you want to get from them? This winter conditioning.
From the winter conditioning, I mean, even though, yeah, they're advanced with an on-field skill set, but from a training age standpoint, you know, they're still early in their development. So again, that piece where we're going to come in, we're going to grind them the same as we are everybody else. Their ceilings are just higher than a lot of other guys you work with. There's not a ton of difference, but they just have high, tremendous ceilings. And we've expected a lot from them as young people in the program from a leadership standpoint. You know, you have different levels of leadership on the team, and you always expect your guys who contribute early like that to take an early leadership role within their class or within that class that's adjacent to them. And I think they've both done a pretty good job with it. I'm happy with them.
You haven't had a full calendar year with Chop, but in what ways have you seen him grow? And different kind of end of the spectrum there, but Davon Townley seemingly had an interesting offseason, but physically looks different now. What's Townley's development been like in these 7 years?
He's been good. I mean, Townley was good. He was obviously, you guys know his story. He wasn't quite sure what his future was going to be, but ever since he's been back in the mix, he's training hard. He's got a body weight goal that he needs to be in order for to play defensive tackle for us. You know, he's gonna have to get his weight up. So he's working hard at it. His approach has been great. He's another guy who comes in, he just handles his business. You know exactly what you're going to get every day. And we've told him, I've preached it to him over and over again, as long as he does that every day, he's going to like the results and he's going to like where he ends up. And who was the other one? Chop?
Yeah.
Chop's phenomenal. I mean, Chop he's freaky in nature. He's another one. He's thrived in our system. You know, his twitch, his suddenness, his ability to just change directions, the way that he does, he's phenomenal. So he's been great. I love Chop Robinson.
Two more guys. Kaden Saunders, someone that came in maybe not ready for the college life. How have you seen him grow mentally and physically over the last year?
Well, I think Caden's big thing was when he first got here. You know, he was a highly talented recruit, and he kind of figured it out early. He's like, wow, you know, I got to work. These guys are good too. But one of his biggest goals when he first got here that we addressed early was and he knows this. You know, he was too big. He was overweight for his body composition. So we've been whittling away at his body composition for the past year, and he's done a phenomenal. He's completely changed his body. He looks lean. He's getting stronger in here, and I think with that confidence, he's a different player right now than what he was. Certainly this time last year, he really started to find his stride during the year, during this past season. I'm really happy with Kaden.
Going into last season, James admitted that there were some questions about the offensive line. I think most people would agree that it performed as well as it has in several years. What were some of the keys to that in your eyes, if you agree with that?
So, with the offensive line, as far as question marks going into last year?
Last season, yeah. James basically said, I'm not going to say anything else about it. They're going to prove it on the field.
Yeah, I mean, offensive line is one of those positions where it's hard. Like there's a curve there. There's a learning curve there. Most of your contributors usually aren't. You usually don't have your guys come out of high school and contribute to the offensive line. It's just one of those positions on the field that you need seasoned guys in there. And I think last year was a product of they didn't like the results we had the year before with the offensive line, so they were motivated throughout the entire 22 year. They did a phenomenal job, but also they were seasoned, you know, just older guys in the room. And I think, you know, Troutwine's done a phenomenal job. I think Frank Leonard coming in has done a phenomenal job for us. That combination of all those things falling into place at the right time, mixed in with the hard work they put in here, you know, it's just, they're reaping the benefit now.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.